The opening ceremony was attended by high-ranking military officials from both countries. The 2024 Balikatan Exercise, the largest annual bilateral exercise conducted between the Philippines and the U.S., commenced with an opening ceremony at Armed Forces of the Philippines General Headquarters in Manila on the 22nd of April 2022. This year's exercise marks the 39th iteration of the annual event, showcasing the Ironclad Alliance and enduring friendship between the two nations. Over 11,000 American soldiers and 5,000 Filipino troops, a total of 16,700 personnel will be jointly training in Batanes, Ilocos Norte, Palawan, and Zambales in this year's iteration of Balikatan Exercise. Contingent from U.S. and Philippine Coast Guard, Special Task Force of Philippine National Police, Australian Defence Force and the French Navy, for the first time in Balikatan's history, will also join the exercise and drills as participants. It will be also the first time the maritime exercises are carried out beyond Philippines' 12 nautical miles territorial waters, but within Manila's exclusive economic zones, in parts of open sea claimed by China. Meanwhile, another 14 nations will participate as part of the international observers. These are the like-minded countries from the Association of Southeast Asia Nations, G7 and European Union, India, New Zealand and Republic of Korea. During this year's Balikatan, participants will execute a range of complex missions across domains, including maritime security, sensing and targeting, air and missile defense, dynamic missile strikes, cyber defense, and information operations. The Philippine Navy, U.S. Navy, Australian Defence Force and the French Navy will also conduct a multilateral maritime exercise in the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, including Major General Marvin N. Licudin, Commander Armed Forces of the Philippines, Education Training and Doctrine Command, and the Philippine Exercise Director. And U.S. Lieutenant General William M. Journey, Commander of U.S. Marine Corps Forces in Pacific and the U.S. Exercise Director.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as we welcome the arrival of our guest of honor and speaker, Honorable Mary Kay Los Carlson, United States Ambassador to the Philippines, represented by the Charge d'Affaires, Robert Ewing. Joined by the General Romeo S. Browner Jr., Philippine Army, Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines.
Major General Noel B. Beleran, Philippine Navy Marines, the Deputy Chief of Staff for Education and Training, J8. Major General Marvin L. Licudin, Philippine Army, Philippines Exercise Director, and Lieutenant General William M. Journey, United States Marine Corps, the U.S. Exercise Director.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines, AFP, and the U.S. military will conduct the 39th iteration of Balikatan, the largest annual bilateral training exercise between the Republic of the Philippines and United States of America. The exercise directly supports the U.S.-Philippine Mutual Defense Treaty by enhancing military cooperation and readiness between the two militaries. The Philippine and U.S. forces will carry out their first-ever military exercises outside the Southeast Asian country's territorial waters, in a move China has said will only lead to greater insecurity in the South China Sea. The U.S. Army has for the first time deployed a mid-range capacity land attack and surface-to-air missile defense system to the Philippines as part of its 2024 military bilateral exercise. The system was deployed in early April to northern Luzon, with the first multi-domain task force on board a C-17 Globemaster III, with the support of the U.S. Air Force's 62nd Airlift Wing from Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington.
Yes, there is already a deployment of the MRC, the medium-range capability weapon system up north. This has the, it's not a new technology. It's a naval weapon system that the United States has put into a prime mover, and it has been deployed already up north.
The deployment of the system, which provides a land attack range as far as 2,500 kilometers in altitude out to 108,000 feet, has marked a substantial boost in capability in a region where China has been taking a stronger position in recent years. The U.S. Army's new ground-based launcher, capable of supporting Tomahawk cruise missiles and SM-6, appeared for the first time in the Indo-Pacific in a deployment to the northern Philippines, near Taiwan for military drills. Mid-range capability, also known as the Typhoon weapon system, is a Lockheed Martin design that takes the naval Mk.41 vertical launch system and modifies it for land-based operations. Typhoon's missile system could cover not only the entire Luzon Strait but also reach the Chinese coast and various People's Liberation Army bases in the South China Sea. The MRC deployment aims to enhance Philippine maritime defense capabilities, while bolstering interoperability and readiness within the U.S.-Philippine alliance. In addition, the Philippines Department of National Defense signed a deal with Israel's Ministry of Defense and manufacturer Rafael Advanced Defense Systems for 3 batteries of the Spider in 2019. The agreement, worth $6.8 billion, is part of the AFP modernization program's Horizon 2. The first 2 missile batteries arrived in September 2023, while the third would be delivered this year. The Spider air defense missile system is designed to protect critical installations, land-based fixed assets, mobile platforms, and friendly forces from aerial threats such as combat aircraft, attack helicopters, drones, incoming missiles, guided munition, and rockets. Balikatan 2024 is organized into 3 main exercises. The field training exercise features 4 combined joint all-domain operations. This includes exercises in protecting key terrain in Luzon and Palawan in support of territorial defense, rapidly moving long-range precision strike capabilities, and using them in targeting simulated threats, tracking simulated air threats and targeting them with multiple air and missile defense systems, and integrating multilateral air and land platforms to increase awareness of the maritime security situation. Exercise forces will conclude by targeting simulated enemy forces and sinking an enemy ship. Officials said in interviews that in one operation, troops will simultaneously secure 2 islands along the western and northern coasts of the Philippines before transporting high-mobility artillery rocket system launchers onto the islands for live firing exercises. In another operation, Philippine naval vessels will debut a newly procured ship-based missile system, working with U.S. Air Force squadrons to strike and sink a decommissioned ship. The U.S. military last year secured access to 4 new staging sites in the Philippines, 3 of which will be part of this year's Balikatan exercises. In one operation, troops will deploy out of Lolo Airport in Cagayan Province to secure one of the Philippines' northernmost islands facing Taiwan. In another, soldiers will use a newly designated airbase on Balabac Island to enact the defense of Palawan Province, located opposite the Spratly Islands, which China has sought to dominate. The drills will simulate the armed recapture of island territories. The command and control exercise includes a cyber defense exercise to strengthen bilateral defense capabilities that protect critical military and civilian information infrastructure, a staff planning exercise to increase bilateral planning proficiency by developing the plan for next year's iteration of Balikatan, and the inaugural information warfare exercise where Philippine and U.S. forces engaged in a week-long wargame on April 1st to synchronize capabilities and advance both nations' information operations skills. Lastly, the AFP and the U.S. Civil Military Operations Task Force have been conducting humanitarian civic assistance activities at 5 locations in the western and northern Philippines since late March, with projects expected to be completed by the end of Balikatan 2024. Together, military personnel are building and improving local infrastructure, sharing life-saving medical skills, and strengthening military ties with local communities.
All right, well, distinguished guests, fellow general officers, flag officers, all good morning. It is absolutely a great opportunity to be here again. I am Lieutenant General Bill Journey. I'm the commander of the U.S. Marine Corps Forces in the Pacific. And on behalf of Admiral Aquilino and all of the U.S. components, I am absolutely honored to be back for what I know will be the most effective, ambitious, sophisticated, and challenging iteration of Balikatan ever. Over 16,000 members from the armed forces of the Philippines and the United States military will train together this year. In doing so, we will demonstrate that the Mutual Defense Treaty between the United States and the Republic of the Philippines is no mere piece of paper. Rather, it is the union of 2 great democracies standing shoulder to shoulder in support of each other and in support of the rule of law and a prosperous, secure, stable, and free and open Indo-Pacific region. We will again be joined by many friends and allies who also share this ideal. This year, the Armed Forces of the Philippines and the U.S. military welcome contingents from Australia Defense Force and for the first time the French Navy as they lend their expertise and experience to the exercise. In addition, we'll have 14 nations participating in the International Observer Program. We welcome you all and look forward to working together.
We shall now hear the remarks from Philippines Exercise Director, Major General Marvin L. Licodine, Philippine Army.
I would like to particularly start by thanking the planners and movers of the 39th iteration of the Balikatan Exercise, both from the Philippine and U.S. side. I would like to acknowledge Mr. Timore and Colonel Michael Lohico for their effort and patience. Without them, details wouldn't be realized today. I believe the planners have complied with the guidance of my counterpart, Lieutenant General Johnny, to keep pace with quality rather than quantity in the exercise. The Philippines United States Exercise Balikatan between the Armed Forces of the Philippines and the United States Indo-Pacific Command is geared towards strengthening both forces' interoperability in the planning, execution of military operations in a joint and combined operational setting. By working together, both militaries can better unlock its vast potential. For the past 38 years, it is worthy to note that through this exercise, we have strengthened the alliance and have raised our expertise in all fields. For its part, the AFP have strengthened cooperative security mechanisms, actualized and still continuing modernization in organization, equipment, training, and systems. Through the exercise, we have improved competencies and utilized game-changer capabilities to enhance war-fighting tactics, techniques, and procedures, both at the tactical and strategic level. The sense of the word Balikatan, which means shouldering the load together, represent the extent of our mutual commitment and together achieving shared goals. Goals that are not only for us, but shared with other allied partners.
How will the Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty with the United States affect the Southeast Asia region? The sovereignty of the Philippines was the first ASEAN member to be directly affected by China's military expansion in the South China Sea. With lesser economic influence and military power, the same thing in the rest of the region. Outside help from the international community is much needed to secure the peace and stability in Indo-Pacific. An irreplaceable U.S. ally for 7 decades, the Philippines has long been at the forefront of preserving the free and open regional order in Southeast Asia and the greater Indo-Pacific region. The Mutual Defense Treaty between the Republic of the Philippines and the United States of America, signed in 1951, serves as a foundation for the close security cooperation between the two countries. 73 years after its signing, the alliance continues to thrive in the ever-evolving security environment that surrounds the Philippines. The U.S.-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty evolved into the 1998 Visiting Forces Agreement, VFA, and the 2014 Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, EDCA. The VFA provides the legal basis and status protections for U.S. military and Department of Defense civilian personnel in the Philippines on official business. While EDCA authorizes U.S. forces to access of agreed locations in the Philippines on a rotational basis, for security cooperation exercises, joint and combined military training activities, and humanitarian assistance and disaster relief activities. The Philippines is strategically positioned east of the South China Sea, a thoroughfare for roughly 30% of global maritime trade. An estimated a third of global trade worth $6 trillion passes through the South China Sea annually. The Philippines archipelago is also a major part of the first island chain, which refers to the first chain of major Pacific archipelagos out from the East Asian continental mainland coast. Currently, the first island chain is the most effective point to counter any Chinese invasion and expanding influence. The Mutual Defense Treaty will give access to the United States to increase its military presence in the region. gaining additional control over 4 more sites and strengthening the Southeast Asian nation's role as a key strategic partner for Washington in the event of a conflict with China over Taiwan. The deal comes as Washington has tried to reaffirm its influence in the region amid a broader effort to counter Chinese aggression, reinforcing partnerships with strategic allies and bolstering relations that have soured in recent years.